NASCAR rolls into Atlanta for our second stop of the season. Echo Park Speedway drafting track. I am joined, as per usual, by Ryan Stevens of wintherace.info. Ryan, it's great to see you again. When we all think drafting tracks, I think we think first of Team Penske. Logano, Hendrick, Blaney, they all led laps here in the spring. I mean, Logano and Hendrick led over 20 laps each, but for whatever reason, the Penske guys recently often struggle to finish where they run. Ryan Blaney was the only top 10 finisher out of Penske in that spring race. So we'll start here, Ryan. Are you confident this week that the Penske guys can finish where they will probably run?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at all drafting tracks since 2024, go a little more recent, I guess. It's a 15 race sample, so pretty decent here. But Penske is 1, 2, and 3 in average running position. But then you go to average finish, like you're saying. You got to get down to like 25th of full-time drivers before you see Ryan Blaney there. And then the other two are even worse than that. But when you look at Atlanta specifically, things start to get better for one of them in particular, and that's Ryan Blaney. The third best average finish at Atlanta over the last 5 races here. And the only time he didn't top 10, he ran over 80% of his laps there. He leads the way in top 10s in that sample set and is tied with Daniel Suarez with 3 top 5s and 2 top 3s in that time. And I'll mention team stats against each other here. It's a cool new feature I put on Win the Race here. When you're in a player card, you can click the drivers and see how they compete against each other in any data set on there. And in all drafting races since 2024, the team is tied 5 wins each. 5 for Logano, 5 for Hendrick, 5 for Blaney. When you look at Atlanta, Blaney has won 3 times, Logano twice. Hendrick hasn't beat his teammates in that time. So just a kind of a cool feature there. But yeah, I think Ryan Blaney would be the one I have my eye on this week.
I like that. That is a cool new feature on wintherace.info. Well, you talked about kind of recent Atlanta races. I look back at the last 3, so I guess last year and this year so far. Carson Hocevar has the best average finish at Atlanta in that sample, 5.3s, finished 2nd, 4th, and 10th in those 3 races. But I noticed something. He's only led 2 laps in that same span. So we know Carson's a good, aggressive drafting driver. He obviously won Talladega recently as well. Does Carson Hocevar deserve to be ranked among the favorites for this weekend's race, Ryan?
Hocevar on this track type is one of the most fun debates we have in the Win the Race Discord. I mean, we have the one side where you look at where he's been running when he gets these finishes. Like when he won Talladega, he ran less than 30% of his laps inside the top 10. In his last few top 10s in Atlanta, he's ran less than 30% of his laps inside the top 10. So some would say he's lucking into these finishes. And then others would say, well, it's the talent that's what it takes to be there at the end and that aggressiveness that you mentioned. So when we simulate this race, he comes out with the 11th highest win percentage at 3.4%. So I wouldn't say we're off of Hocevar or really on him. It's just kind of like, we'll see where he's running, and it might not matter because once you get to the end of the race, and that matters, that time, he finds a way to the front. So I'm curious to see, what happens with these other drivers too, who might have issue with him. And we'll see what that brings. But so far, so good for him at Atlanta and these drafting tracks. So we'll see what happens with Hocevar. But I'm excited to watch him race in these no matter what, because we know that aggressive style will be fun to watch.
Oh, yeah, we do know he's going to put on a show. And great point. It seems almost like it's open season on Carson Hocevar this summer. First, Corey Heim got into it at San Diego. Zane Smith, I don't know what that was at Chicagoland, but gosh, yeah, who knows who's going to take their shot next, I suppose. Tyler Reddick and Chase Briscoe finished 1-2 at Atlanta in the spring. Brian, we talk about him every week pretty much. Toyota has been the manufacturer to beat at most tracks this season. But Atlanta's different, very different. Are there any Toyotas you are watching this Sunday?
Yeah, I like 2311 in particular. In all drafting races since 2024, Bubba leads the way with 9 top 10s in those 15 races. Then there's a group of 4 more drivers who have done that 7 times, and Tyler Reddick's one of them. Reddick also leads the way with 3 wins in that sample set, one of his wins being at Atlanta, like you mentioned. And if we jump to Atlanta only in that time frame, only 8 drivers have top 10 finishes in over half those 5 races. Bubba and Reddick are the only Toyotas in that group. And then I wanted to mention one more guy, JGR driver Christopher Bell. In all Gen 7 races at Atlanta, he's the only driver to win top manufacturer at least 3 times. So he's been the top Toyota 3 times. No one else with any other manufacturer has done that. He also does have a win here, so we know he can get to the top. And I just think storyline wise, it'd be kind of funny. He's been so close this year. How perfect would it be for him to finally, get that win here in Atlanta?
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on him for sure, for sure. Chase Elliott is the defending winner, transitioning now from Toyota to Chevrolet, who've been hot on their heels most of this season. Chase Elliott survived the chaos last summer to get that win. Remember, he also got a push from his teammate Alex Bowman late in that race. Chase has 2 wins now at New Atlanta, so I'll ask you, Ryan, which Hendrick driver do you feel has the best shot at getting the win this Sunday?
Hey, HMS, they lead the way with 4 wins in the 9, Gen 7 Atlanta races, 2 from Elliott, 2 from Byron. It's an interesting team to look at when you start diving into the numbers. Over the last 5 Atlanta races, Larson is actually second best in average running position, Byron fifth, Elliott sixth, and Bowman down in 15th. But in that same sample set, Bowman leads the team with 2 top fives in those races. So he does have, upside here as well. I think I'd have to stick with Elliott here if I'm picking my favorite HMS driver this weekend. Second best average finish in Atlanta over the last 5. And if you zoom out to all the drafting races everywhere since 2024, second best average finish in that sample set as well. So he's done a great job of finding a way to finish these chaotic races.
Seems like he's usually there at the end. We are only 7 races away, Ryan, from the chase. The chase starting, the top 16 cutoff. Shane Van Gisbergen, Austin Cindric, Eric Jones, Ryan Preece, Joey Logano, some big names, some heavy hitters right around that cut line, right there on the bubble right now. Yeah, outside of maybe SVG, and I wouldn't rule him out either, all those guys I just named, I think could very realistically win Atlanta this weekend. I mean, Cindric has multiple drafting track wins in his career, so does Eric Jones. Joey Logano's won at this new Atlanta configuration a couple of times. So kind of that group I just focused on, the bubble drivers, if you will. Which driver is most likely to pop in a good way this weekend at Atlanta, Ryan?
I'd have to pick the one, like you said, this bubble time, your back's against the wall. And I got to go with the guy who runs up front here more than anyone and just hope he survives. And that's Joey Logano. Over the last 5 Atlanta races, I mean, he's led over 25% of the laps he's ran. So, I mean, he is just over a quarter of the time he's running the race, he's leading it. That's insane over a 5 race sample. And it's kind of weird you get to a place like this and think it's where you could make up ground. But if we haven't seen him do it at Atlanta before, I might say, why would you think that? But we've seen him go out there, dominate these races. He's won here. So I think I have to stick with Joey Logano here. And this luck that he's had finishing these drafting races has to turn around at some point.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Well, Joey enters this race tied for 18th in the standings, so I almost feel the pressure on Logano that we felt for SVG at San Diego and Sonoma. Like, he had to maximize those days. I almost feel like Logano kind of has to maximize Atlanta, and that's easier said than done in the draft. Dark horse pick, Ryan, we'll wrap up with this. I like Zane Smith this weekend. I know I just questioned his move on Carson Hocevar from Chicagoland, but it's a new week. Take a deep breath. The last 3 Atlanta races, Zane has finished 11th, 7th, and 7th. So he seems to have a knack for finding the front late. Front Row Motorsports has shown speed in the draft in the past. Who's your dark horse pick if you had to pick someone out, Ryan?
I love Zane as well. The other thing to consider, he has top 6 finishes at Daytona and Talladega this season.
Yes,
so that's all 3 drafting tracks to start the year. That's 4 top 10s in a row on drafting tracks dating back to last year's Summer Talladega race. So I think people know he's good here, but I'll go with Daniel Suarez. He's still kind of far down the list if you're looking at just, people that are being picked to win this race or projected to win this race based on odds or anything else. But Suarez here, I'm going to throw out last year. They just didn't show up. It was last year with the team. But before that, when Trackhouse was a little more competitive, Suarez was crushing at Atlanta. 4 top 6 finishes in those 6 races, including a win. And the only time he didn't were last year, like I mentioned. But then he comes to Spire. Immediately does it again, finishing 5th here in the spring. He finished 13th and 12th at Daytona and Talladega earlier this year as well. So a couple good finishes there. And then you go look at the other Spire guys, like Corey LaJoie when he was with Spire. Top 15s in both Atlanta races. And then we already talked about Carson Hocevar and his upside here. So I love some Team Spire, particularly Hocevar and Suarez. But give me Suarez as kind of my dark horse here that not many are thinking he can win Atlanta again, but I think he might be up there.
I am with you 100%. And I have not looked at the odds or anything, but I'd absolutely be looking at value picks from any of the Spire guys, because I'm going to go back to the Daytona 500. It was Hocevar and McDowell running 1-2 at the white flag. Every drafting track race this year, and I know they're all a little different, Spire, at least one Spire car driver has been in the picture there coming to the checkered flag. I like that Daniel Suarez pick quite a bit. Ryan Stevens, thank you for being on. As always, fans, you can find more of Ryan's work, and he talked about even a new tool, always adding new things to the site. You can find more of Ryan's work at wintherace.info. That link is down in the description. And Ryan, I know every week you guys still do the draft. This week you even slightly modified the format a bit. Can you tell folks about what they can expect if they tune in?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Last night was a fun draft. We had Dale Tanhart on as our guest, and we did a new randomizer where the 8 teams that we draft drivers from is random now. So we won't know who we're going to talk about until I hit that random button and it tells us what team's next. So it threw a nice twist on the whole strategy aspect of the show. But we do draft a driver from 8 different teams. We talk about a lot of different teams, drivers, strategies, momentum, everything that has to do with NASCAR. And if you want to hear us talk about your favorite driver, there's a good shot we do. So check out the draft every week.
Every Wednesday night live on the Win the Race YouTube channel. You can also watch the replay, of course, before the race on Sunday. Ryan, thanks for being on. We'll talk again very soon, man. Have a great weekend.
Appreciate it. Enjoy Atlanta.